Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today I'm joined again with one of my old players, Dustin Ford, and we are in the RV in Prescott Valley, Arizona. I'm so glad we had the chance to get together. Thanks for feeding us. Wonderful supper, and thanks for taking the time to come out in the RV and do a podcast with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we were talking about before, it's nice that I was able to get home in time to see you while you're up here. So
yeah, that's right. I mean, 3 days ago, we didn't think this was going to happen. We thought you were going to be in California all weekend, and here we are in the RV, which is cool. So, first of all, tell me, when you first heard what Sandy and I were going to be doing, selling all of our stuff and just traveling around in the RV, what was kind of like your first thought?
it's kind of envy a little bit, I guess. Like that's just that's so cool to be able to do that. I think we were actually my fiancée Jess and we were actually talking about this, because I was telling her, explaining before we came out what you guys were doing, and I was saying, man, this must be so cool to be able to just have that kind of lifestyle, be able to go and see everything, and then we were talking about too at dinner, being able to connect with people from that you've had come through the organization. And so just that whole idea of being able to go and see everything on your own time and not be on anyone else's schedule or anything like that, that's got to be awesome.
It is, but this is the most awesome part of it, being able to connect, with you guys. I mean, I'm trying to think, and I remember you came out to the complex to buy a bucket of baseballs shortly after we started running the complex. That was probably 2012, 2013-ish, give or take. And then a little time after that, you ended up out here in Arizona. So it's been at least 8 or 9 years since we've seen each other. We did, obviously through Facebook and that sort of stuff, we can stay in contact, and you'd actually bought some uniforms from the organization, which was pretty cool. And, it was cool that you wanted to support the organization, because obviously, buying it from your old organization in Pennsylvania or going down the street to a sporting goods place in Arizona probably would have been a lot more convenient, but you thought it was cool to support the organization. So
100%.
What are some of your, fondest Berkshire memories, on or off the field?
It's, well, the big baseball memory is our actual in-game memory is our tournament in Orlando, the Arosha Tigers. It was the semifinals before the championship, and it was what'd you say? They were all Cuban immigrants and
from Miami.
There was not a single word of English spoken on the other bench, and and it was just I just remember it being just really an intense game.
They were good. They were good too.
They were really good.
And we were a bunch of hicks from Pennsylvania.
And man, we came down. We held our own. Our Kevin O'Connor hit, I was saying, it's his best. God, the best game I've ever caught from a pitcher. Just the way he was focused, and it's still so cool to think of how he was with that. Same thing too. That's the first time I ever got to play on a field of that quality. And
really don't sell yourself short. But you're not going to talk about yourself, so I will, because you hit a bomb out of what was then the Atlanta Braves spring training facility. Again, as a 14-year-old kid, 330 down the line, and the ball you hit cleared the fence by at least 30 feet. So you hit that ball 360, 370 feet, and it was crushed. So I know you weren't going to say it, so I'll say it for you. And you did a great job at managing Kevin behind the plate, because unless you really know baseball, which some of my listeners, because these topics go from baseball to everything, the catcher is as big a part of a great pitched game as the pitcher is. And so some of my listeners will get that and some won't. So again, I want to give kudos to you, because Kevin at times could be a tough pitcher to handle. Let's call a spade, right?
Yeah,
I mean, but when he was on, and you had a knack. I mean, I don't know, at least the 2 years that you two played for me, or actually 3, because you played 14 under with me before we all moved up to 16 under. I don't know that Kevin pitched anybody else other than you.
I don't think so. Yeah, no, I think you're right.
It was it was intentional that if he was on the mound, you were going to be behind the plate. So let's talk a little bit about that. Just that kind of, you guys kind of came into the organization together. Just that chemistry of being, battery mates for all those years.
Yeah, obviously we played in Pottsville together, different little leagues, but played Teen League together, and yeah, I don't know. We just we went to take pitching and catching lessons together with Dell down in Reading, and he's the one who turned us on to the organization, and like we were just doing all that work together there, and then it just kind of flowed right into just playing in the fall together too. I feel like any catcher will tell you that when you just catch someone all the time, you know all their, not just like with how they're throwing, but also like their mental state, and there's a little bit of therapist in all of us, I think.
Yep.
So, and that was, I don't know, that was always one of the fun parts of catching for me, was it's more than just just catching the ball. It's working your pitcher too.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But yeah, no, that was nice. I mean, you're right. Now that you say that, yeah, I think there were probably a few times that maybe like Castleovich, Scott caught him for whatever reason, but for the most part, yeah, I caught him pretty much every game.
Yeah, and again, talented wise, you and Scott were certainly equals for sure. But you definitely knew how to handle Kevin when he was on the mound. So,
yep.
We picked that up as a coaching staff pretty early on. So, I did kind of interrupt you a little bit about talking about the game to give you your kudos for that home run. So what else do you want to talk about that tournament in general or that game? Because you guys did certainly impress. I don't think anybody expected us to go to Orlando, Florida, play in the competition that we were playing and come back with a trophy.
Yeah. No,
First place trophy.
Super cool. And it's funny because, like, that game wasn't even the championship, but I remember that one more honestly than I remember the championship game. Because, like, we kind of just rolled it, like we were talking about before, we kind of just rolled over the team that we were playing in the actual championship. Right. So that game leading up to it was the real one, and that's the one that's just forever has a place in my head as one of the, like, greatest games that I've ever been a part of in my life.
Yeah. And what was it like for you as a young player like that? I mean, we traveled to Orlando. We went to Galveston with you. We went to Las Vegas. What was it like for a young player to travel to all those places, as a team like that? I mean, certainly not something you were doing in high school or Legion baseball. So, what was that like for you? What did it mean to you?
It was amazing, especially coming from, just not quite middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, but kind of middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, to go out and be able to see a bunch of stuff, and not just see things that I had never seen before, but also like to be part of the organization and have like the, my teammates there with me and building these relationships with people that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to build relationships with, and making stories that I still talk about with, not just you and the conversations we're having, but like just everyone. It's just something that helped build me to be the person I am today, were all of those memories on and off the field. Yeah, it was awesome.
And socially, I think that was a big part of our organization, is to get, a handful of kids from Pottsville and a handful of kids from Blue Mountain, and then some kids from Exeter and, Manheim Township and, you name it. I mean, looking back now, I don't know if it sunk in when you were a kid that all of a sudden you had all these friends from all these other school districts. I mean, at what point was it like, wow, that was something that really did benefit me socially, being it's broadening your horizon?
Probably a while down the road. I feel like that kind of stuff, you really need some distance to really see the real effect of like what something like that did for you in your life. So yeah, it probably wasn't until it was over that I was able to really look back and reflect on it and see the difference that it made, and like just see how, and finally understand how cool it was to be able to be around all those people that I would, like I said, I would have never otherwise met. So yeah, and even now I still look back on it, and I miss that.
Yeah.
Being able to go and meet people like that. I mean, I kind of get a little bit of it now, but it's not even close to the same as when you're that age, being put in, on a team with people that you didn't like 2 days before you had no idea who they were, and then you show up and you go from the first, asking who wants to warm up, and you try to find someone that you've never played catch with before, and you warm up with them, you're talking to them, and you have a whole, that age, it's a whole new friend in 5 minutes.
Right. Because you had that one thing in common.
Exactly.
You had that one thing in common. How's that helped you in your career today? First of all, tell my listeners what you're doing today, and has the game of baseball actually been able to help you in your work career today?
So currently, I am a technical director for a corporate audio-visual company called Talon Technologies. Basically, I show up to different corporate meetings and oversee all of the audio-visual that's going to happen for their events. So I coordinate with the client and make sure that their vision of whatever their show is going to be or their meeting is going to be happens the way they want it to. And I end up being in charge of different local techs and labor crews and things like that, because it's all travel. I don't get to just drive down the street and have like a regular commute. It's always to the airport and whatever city the meeting's in. But baseball has been a huge factor. Like, I think, especially in the beginning of my career, before I had a whole lot of like career experience, part of my interview would be like bringing up baseball stories and how the game of baseball, and specifically being a catcher,
absolutely
really translated into dealing with people off the field and being able to handle pressure, being able to, direct people and lead people. And I still feel that is like being a catcher for the majority of my baseball career absolutely gave me all of those skills before getting into any kind of career field.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you're handling a different type of pitching staff now. And, and let's face it, looking back to when you played for me, I mean, we talked about Kevin O'Connor, but then, you have to have a completely different mindset when you're behind the plate for somebody like Sean Rigney,
mm-hmm.
or, Shane Stein, or, Mike Kaslovich. I mean, all these guys, they bring something different to the table with every outing. So, I know anytime I'm talking to someone who has caught, when I was in an interview process back when we ran the complex and everything, that always scored a couple points, because I knew the type of leadership skills that you have to have behind the plate. Anything else, specific that you think that's helped you with career-wise?
Oh, that's tough. It's been just kind of like a broad stroke of just helping me be a better everything, really. Because, working as a team and being part of a team is such a huge thing in, specifically my industry now, too, because it's, I have to delegate tasks to an entire team of people, and then once the show is actually going, it's, all of us are just talking to each other on comms and having to like just work together to bring the whole vision of whatever, as boring as it may be sometimes, it's still like a big, broad vision that this client has that we all work together to make it happen.
Right. Right. And being able to make all that happen behind the scenes,
mm-hmm.
Even when there are hiccups that take place, to not let the client see that.
Yeah.
That when everything's over, the client thinks it ran smooth as silk.
Yep.
Where that there could have been 100 things that you had to piece together to make it. And I think that's the best part about running an event. I mean, we were the same way when we ran tournaments. I mean, there
mm-hmm.
could have been 100 things that went wrong behind the scenes, but at the end of the day, no one knew that except for our team.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that's so important when it comes to running events and, you know, making it happen.
Yep.
So
and catching too, just like being able to handle pressure, and because you're catching or pitching, you're involved in every pitch.
Yep.
There's no waiting for something to come to you. Everything is always right in your face, and whether it's, you know, you're ahead by 10 runs or, you know, you got to make something happen on this play kind of pressure. So it's, yeah, that dealing with that throughout my entire baseball career definitely made it way easier to be put in those situations in like a career.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. That's cool. We're just about out of time. Anything else you want to add before I get to my final question?
I mean, it's been great being able to catch up with you, talk about some old stories of my fun personality as a teenager and all the fun things I've said and done over the years. And, it's like, yeah, those are just all, I love it. I'm glad that we got to sit here and talk about it.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad. I mean, when you sent me that text or message the other day saying, "Hey, flying home from California early," it made me so happy to be able to, because this truly is the best part of this journey for Sandy and I. And I know, you know, like she said at dinner, wait, who are we going to go see? And, you know, because obviously she wasn't as intimately involved with all you guys as I was. I mean, she knows some of the players better than others. But you know, kudos to her for, you know, always being a trooper and going to figure out who we're seeing. And then what's cool is seeing her kind of, oh, now I remember this kid, mm-hmm. you know, and you guys are no longer kids anymore, which is pretty cool. And it definitely makes me feel good about what we did as an organization, you know. And you know, the podcast I just did with Isaac, you know, we talked about, you know, him going on and playing independent ball, but he's now actually on the board of a scholarship foundation. And I said, you know, that's the stuff that we as coaches, we as the ones who ran the organization, make us, you know, so much more proud of than anything any of you ever did on the baseball field, you know. And just sitting and listening to you tonight about how your career's going, you know, moving into a house and all that sort of stuff, you know, that's just real big boy stuff that we all deal with, you know, day in and day out. And that's the sort of stuff that, you know, that makes us proud. And to know you're traveling all around the country doing these events is very cool. Your fiancée is an entrepreneur in her own right, which is very, very cool. You know, so that's the stuff that makes us so proud as an organization. So I'm so happy that we were able to get together and sit down, and, you know, the night goes by so fast
right
at that point. You know? So brings us to our final question. As I told you before, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, which comes from the opening lyrics of Michael Frante's song Gloria, which go, "When many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes." So it's one of the little things that Dustin's doing on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place.
I guess the biggest thing is I just try to be kind and just, I don't know, understanding. I always tell everyone I'm a very glass half full kind of person, and I don't know, I feel like trying to have like a positive outlook on things with everybody, and it just helps things not be as harsh and not be as hard. So yeah, I just try to be as kind and understanding with everyone as I possibly can, and hope that I can help in any way, that just make myself available whenever I can.
That's very important in the polarized world that we live in today. Mm-hmm. You know, we need more kindness. We need more understanding for sure. So I think you're going a long way in making the world a better place. So that's, again, that's great to hear that outlook for sure. So again, I appreciate the time, you know, that you're able to carve out and come out here and do this. I know I sprung it on you at the 11th hour, to say the least. So I do appreciate that, and look forward to seeing you again in the future.
I hope it's sooner than 9 years. So.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Wish you the best of luck in the future. Got a marriage coming up here in less than a year, so good luck to that. I can see the chemistry between you two. I think you're going to be fine. So that's very cool. But for my listeners out there, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at danclouser.com. And Dustin, again, thanks a lot for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you so much.